What's up, guys? So, here's the deal. My name's Connor Royer. I was shot in the leg when I was 15. I've been through what most people would consider hell in my life. I'm 26 years old now, about to be 27. And going through, 2 months in the hospital, dozens of surgeries, stuff like that. It kind of opens your eyes, you know what I mean, to a lot of the bullshit of everyday life. That's the thing, guys. Like we're all stuck in this monotonous web. I know, and I know it's a cliche thing to talk about now because of COVID and everything that happened and has continues to happen. But y'all need to know, you can be positive, okay? You can be positive. You can spread a light. You can spread, non-fear. No misinformation, no disinformation, none of that bullshit, frankly. Just be you. Be you. Enjoy your life. Obviously, we all work, you know what I mean? Unless you're a trust fund baby. But we all work. And that's kind of a lot of, if not most of the monotony that goes into everyday life. But at the same time, it is what you make it. I mean, it really is, guys. But I'll be honest with you, I'm fed the fuck up. I am fed up with bullshit that I hear and bullshit that I see from the politics and the racial wars and the religious wars and all this bullshit that's going on. It's like so unnecessary. I want to speak a little truth of mine, a little tale. So this was actually brought on by some of my friends that asked me to kind of retell the story. But when I was living up in Utah, I had an experience where I saw something. To this day, I don't know what it was. The closest thing I can put my finger on as to what it might have been was a Skinwalker. I was literally out in the middle of the desert. There was nothing around me. No homes, no roads, nothing. I had to abandon my truck because I had a couple pop tires, and I was just walking, literally just trudging through the massively open desert. And it was a foreign desert because I'm not from there. I don't live there. I did for a while, but I don't live there now. But the weirdest part about it is when I was there, when I was, experiencing this apparition or entity, whatever you can call it, I noticed, or I felt like this peace. It was like just this cool peace, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't anything on a spiritual level. It wasn't anything major like that. I felt that, trust me. I felt spiritual peace, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. It's one of a kind. But this entity that I'd come across, I know skinwalkers are usually talked about in a bad manner, but this one would actually seemed to be really chill. I mean, he helped me out, or it helped me out. I don't know what it was. I truly don't know what it was. But if I could describe it, how do I put it? So, like Native American folklore talks about skinwalkers being, shape-shifting and, not necessarily dark entities, but they are entities. They're non-human. They're no longer human. So I come across this thing in the middle of the Rocky Mountain desert. I mean, the desert that leads up to the Rocky Mountains. And sure enough, at first, when I first saw it, it was a man, right? And I was just looking at it. I was just like, what is this thing? What's this guy doing out here? You know what I mean? Because I couldn't tell what it was at first. But then I realized it clicks. I'm like, wait a minute. Because he didn't move. He didn't even blink as far as I saw. But at the same time, it was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It was super early in the morning. I'd been driving all night. and I just got completely lost on on these back roads of Tooele. And so I get up to the guy because I'm like, I needed help. I actually needed medical help too. So I get up to the guy. I start asking him some questions. I didn't get too close, obviously, just because I respect, I respect privacy areas and, shit like that, because you never know, what someone is, or who, or, what someone's willing to do, for money, for, whatever. And this dude was out in the middle of nowhere, just like me. So I was like, okay, he probably doesn't have the best of intentions, but let's just see. So I walked up. I got within probably about 10 to 15 feet. And that's the thing, is I go shooting all the time. I'm a hunter, so I have a rangefinder. I'm able to tell what 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, looks like just by eyeballing, right? But this entity, I'd gotten probably within 5 yards of it, 15 feet. And then that was when I started asking questions. And when I started asking questions, there was something that caught my attention, like further off. And I didn't think of it at the time because it had no bearing on me whatsoever. And I've heard this sound so many times as a hunter and as a avid outdoorsman, that it doesn't bother me. It's just, I just heard a sound. It was somewhat close. I was like, what the hell was that? I heard a howl, like a very, very abrupt, like, how coyotes howl, and they howl for a long duration, and then a whole bunch of them jump in and start howling. But this was like a short, abrupt, intentional howl almost. And when I turned my head, and then I turned back and look at the guy, it's no longer a dude. I mean, it is, but this thing's 20, 30 feet tall. No kidding. And it was hunched over. There was a very, very small campfire that wasn't there before, that it was hunched over. And I remember at the time I was a smoker, and I quit. I mean, I've quit smoking for the last 6 years, but it was a wild thing, because I remember asking, I was like, do you mind if I get a light off of your fire for one of my cigarettes, because I wanted to smoke. And this thing holds, like, literally the distance between us has not changed, right? I haven't taken a step closer, the thing hasn't taken a step closer, but it's grown exponentially, right? One of the wildest things I've ever seen. But that's the thing, though, is it didn't look like a creature or alien or anything like that. It literally just looked like a Native American man that was in full headdress and full war dress. It was actually very, very, like, it was so sick to see that, you know what I mean? But at the same time, very spooky, very creepy at the same time. So I had two different trains of thought on this, and I was testing the waters to see if this thing would help me out and at least let me catch some heat and maybe have a smoke. And so I did, or I asked the question, and then all of a sudden, boom, just like that, this thing holds out its arm. The arm covered almost the entire distance between us, just like that. It was one of the weirdest things I've ever, like, felt, seen, experienced, like, all of it wrapped into one, like the whole shebang, you know what I mean? And so and what it was holding out in its hand was a stick that had embers on the end of it. So I lit my cigarette and started smoking. And then again, I heard another howl, like a very abrupt, short howl. And I was like, okay, what is going on right now? And I was very tired, but at the same time, I'd been walking and walking and walking and walking. I just had to try to get to a road or somewhere where I could get medical help, because I needed medical help. And that was when I looked back in the direction of the howl, and the howl seemed to be in the same distance, same area that it was previously, so it didn't worry me all that much. And then I looked back, and the guy's just pointing. See, still in this massive, like form of a massive ancient Native American man in full dress, and he didn't speak a word. Like, this thing didn't speak a word. I was the only one that spoke, and I had asked a question in the beginning. Sir, do you know where there's a road? And this was before he had shifted, right? Like, this was when he still looked like a normal man. He looked like a dude that works on a construction site, you know what I mean? Like, and I used to do construction, so that was one of those things where it's like, it just kind of seemed like it, okay, you know, maybe he's surveying a spot out here. I don't know. That was my initial thought. But when I had first approached him, I had asked him if there was a road or a house or something nearby where I could get somebody to help me, because my phone had died. I had lost my phone. It wasn't a good experience. My shoes were falling apart, and the direction that he pointed me in was, sure enough, like the busiest highway in the area. And I had just barely seen, and I mean, even though it was the busiest highway in the area, it was still only 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know if anybody's been, on big, even big highways, but I've been on plenty of highways late at night, certainly not even that late, or early. And there's been literally zero cars on the road other than me, right? So I must not have seen it before. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I see these very, very faint but very real headlights. It was 2 headlights that were kind of coming at me, and then they took a sharp angle and just kept driving. And I could see the headlights kind of, lightening up the surroundings. And my bet would be that highway was probably at least, or at, in the area of 5 to 10 miles away. I mean, I was literally in flat desert. There were some rolling hills and stuff, but nothing, like no major mountains or anything like that, except for the mountain that this highway was on. So I knew right away. I was like, okay, this thing's good. It's not trying to hurt me. It's just something that I stumbled across. Maybe I was supposed to stumble across it in my time of need. But I'll tell you right now, I would have died in that desert if I wouldn't have found that highway. Do with that what you will. And like I said, I don't know if it's a Skinwalker. That's just what I'm thinking, because of how it shifted, how it changed appearance. It didn't talk, and not to mention all that, but as I was walking away, once I got probably about 50 yards, about half a football field away, I turned around, looked back, because the whole time he stayed in the massive Native American man's form, all the way up until I got about 50 yards away. And that was when I turned around and I saw 2 coyotes right in the same spot that I was standing. It's right in that same area. Just saw 2 coyotes. So it was a very humbling, I mean, and you may ask, how can I see in the middle, how am I able to see in the middle of the desert when it's 3 or 4 in the morning? Well, to answer that question, I had one very small little pen light fit in my pocket, just like any small thing would, or like a pocket knife or anything like that. The only thing I had lost on my person was my phone. I still had my wallet. I still had my pocket knife. I think I even still had a pistol on me. And at that point I had a flashlight, like a little pen light. Now the pen light didn't reach very far, but it had a really bright LED. But it was also a full moon out. And so I don't, for those of you who aren't as outdoorsy, when it's a full moon versus a crescent moon or a waxing moon, the full moon literally can act like, once your eyes adjust, it can almost act like a much duller sun. Like, you can see movement, out in the brush and stuff like that. So, and that was what I had ended up seeing, was like profiles of a couple of dog-like creatures or animals. And I realized it clicked. They were coyotes. And there were 2 of them. So I don't know what it was. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but that is the first of many of my stories that I have experiencing, you know, something of this sort. You know what I mean? Whether it be paranormal, supernatural, whatever you want to call it. I've got a lot of these kinds of stories, especially as a hunter, and especially as a young dumb kid. You know, the young dumb kid that I was. But stay posted, stay alert, and stay on top of my channel. Subscribe, because I'm going to be releasing more videos. I'm going to be releasing more stories of my experiences. I've had Wendigo experience. I mean, some wild stuff has happened, and I didn't know what it was until I'd actually read up on the matter. So my next video I'll post next week. Keep it probably around the same time frame, but that video is going to be about the time that I spent the night on a graveyard. I literally spent the night in my truck on a graveyard out in the middle of nowhere. I just found it one night. I was driving around on the back roads, and I was like, what the hell is this, Kyle? But no, that's it. That's me. I gave you a short, brief intro to me. I'll give you, and that's the other thing too, is I want to upload more videos of me and who I am and what I do, and what I stand for, what I'm about. But yeah, that's story number one. So please like, subscribe, do your thing, fam.